Hi everyone, welcome to my Facebook Live about how to set healthy boundaries. Today I would like to offer a fresh perspective of boundaries, and I'm going to use my clarity, alignment, action framework to address the subject. And I do have a gift for you all that I will be sharing at the end, so stay tuned in until the end and I'll share my gift. Oh yeah, I'm getting a question. So I'm going to address that question, Debbie, when we get to it. But thank you for sharing your question. I'm actually going to put it in my notes in a questions section. Let's do that here. Good. Okay. Let's get back to it. Yes, so do stay until the end and I will share my gift for you. Let me introduce myself. My name is Greta Frimo Bjorn, or you can simply call me Coach Greta. I'm a manifestation coach and energy healer based in Norway. I used to live in Florida, so Florida is also very dear to my heart, and I work with a lot of people from the US, from Canada, from UK, from all over the world. I think I counted 17 countries, which is really cool. I get to connect with people from everywhere. My background is in biology and pollution biology. I used to work as an environmental advisor for many years for the Norwegian the Norwegian military and the Norwegian airport authorities. So I used to help big organizations get greener and leave a smaller footprint on the environment. These days, I mainly work with people, and that is truly my passion and my joy. I'm married, I have a husband, I have a cat. I live in my dream house that I've been living here for about a year, manifested my dream house, and I am working on getting better and better at expressing my boundaries. My wants, my needs, my wishes, my desires, my boundaries, all of it. So if you struggle with expressing your boundaries, know that I struggle too. I'm there with you. So, clarity, alignment, action is my framework for how I work with everything. Clarity meaning getting crystal clear about what it is that you want, but also about what it means. Getting into alignment for me means making sure my point of attraction matches what it is that I want to manifest. So if you think of your point of attraction as the sum of your thoughts, what you're sending out, and your emotions, what is your attraction power? It's like little magnets. So my point of attraction in any given subject is the thoughts that I'm sending out about it, plus the emotions that I'm feeling about it. And the attraction power increases with the strength of the emotion. So let's say, for instance, I am thinking about money and I'm feeling like I don't have enough, and I'm feeling strongly that I don't have enough. Then what I will get, what I will attract is more reasons to feel really bad about money. If I'm thinking about money and I'm feeling abundant and blessed and like I always have enough and I'm feeling strongly positive, then I will attract more reasons to feel that. So that is my point of attraction. And getting into alignment to me means making sure you got clarity, you know what your goal is, and now getting into subconscious alignment with your goals so that you will automatically attract what you want. And then action is from that point of alignment, taking inspired action towards your goal. All right, so I would like to ask you all a question if you want to write in the chat. What was the last boundary you set and how did it go? And while I give you guys time to contemplate that, I'm going to start going into clarity. And first of all, I want to talk about what a boundary is And I want to do it from a bit of a different perspective. So this is me, that is you, this is me, this is my physical self, and this is my energetic self, my soul, my inner being, my inner child, whatever you want to call it. And what you can hold space for while being with your emotions without it hurting you is what's within your boundaries. If you can't hold space for it without it hurting you, it means there is a boundary, and the boundary is how much can you hold space for without it hurting you. So when it hurts you, it means a boundary has been crossed. So in order to know that that's happened, you have to be boundaried. Not only setting boundaries for other people and telling them what's okay and what's not, but actually being with yourself in your own energy, connected with yourself enough to know what is right for you and what isn't. What is outside the limits of how much or what you can hold without it affecting you negatively emotionally. And when is it too much to hold? That's when the inner or outer pressure on my ego or myself or my inner child is greater than my capacity to hold whatever is going on. And you know because you feel it. Your body will tell you. So it's important that we know what our boundaries are and recognizing how you feel without suppressing your emotion or pretending it's not affecting you or acting out or overreacting. And acting out and overreacting often happens because when we feel like our boundaries have been overstepped, that initiates a defense, some kind of defense, which can be a fight, flight, freeze response. It can be getting defensive. It can be freezing, just getting quiet. But in order to know, you have to be with yourself. And that can be hard because a lot of the time we really connect with each other on a deep level, and our energy field kind of melts into their energy field. And when it does, it can be really hard to know what's yours. And you know this because you might not know what you want. It might be hard for you to state your preferences. And when that happens, and we will get to this in the action part, but when that happens, it's really important to have strategies to put in place to get back in with yourself. Okay, so getting more clarity, I want to introduce the 5 different boundary categories. First, I want to read a couple of the comments. I declined an invite to hang with friends and chose to go for a mani and pedi instead, alone. I love it. And it's a really strong example of setting a boundary because oftentimes prioritizing alone time can be hard. If you don't have a plan, you're free, but actually you're not. You want to have some alone time. Saying not right now to putting another task on my list felt empowering. Awesome, Jennifer. I love it. Good. All right. So the 5 different boundary types are physical, sexual, material, mental, and emotional. I'm going to go through them and give some examples. So physical boundaries are who has permission to touch you and how. How much personal space do you require? Are you okay with people being in your face, or do you need some more space? And that might be different from person to person and situation to situation. How much privacy do you require? Are you okay with people coming into the bathroom when you're there showering, or
Du må låse opp iPhonen din først.
whatever you're doing? Siri has something to say about it. Your sexual boundaries. What level of sexual touch is okay for you? Where, when, and with whom? And I think many of us have examples of not honoring those boundaries with ourselves, with others. Your material boundaries, how often can people access your material possessions? Are you okay with lending money, clothes, your car to others, and under what conditions? And who can have access to what parts of your home? Do you require people to remove their shoes? Can people use your computer with your permission, without your permission? So those are examples of material boundaries. And in my childhood, I didn't get that mirrored really well. I was always really good at taking care of my possessions, and they meant a lot to me. But when my things were stolen or ruined by my siblings, it never had any consequences. And I think that's one of the reasons why that's a really important thing to me today, to have my material possessions respected. Um, your mental boundaries, your thoughts, your values, your opinions, listening to others. Having strong mental boundaries means you can listen to others with an open mind, even if you disagree, while holding to your own values. An example of people disrespecting your mental boundaries can be people disrespecting your no. Emotional boundaries. If you have good emotional boundaries, you won't give criticism and unsolicited advice. You also won't accept criticism and unsolicited advice. Having strong emotional boundaries also means you know not to share intimate details about yourself too soon or with the wrong people. It also involves not taking things personally, not feeling guilty for other people's emotions. And if this fails, if we don't stay in those boundaries well, we can get defensive, invalidate other people's feelings, telling them or someone telling us how you should feel, and also asking intrusive questions. Like, for instance, a coworker asking questions about your personal life. That can be overstepping an emotional boundary. So physical, sexual, material, mental, and emotional. So think about yourself and your own situation. What was the boundary type that last got violated in your life? Either because you didn't state the boundary, or even if you had stated the boundary and made it clear, which one? You can think about it, and if you want, you can pop it in the chat. So now that we know the boundary types, there are also 3 different states of boundaries. So are your boundaries rigid? Are they flexible? Or are they healthy? So if they're rigid, that means oftentimes that we are so afraid of not being respected and not having our needs and boundaries met that we're very, very rigid. We might not let people in. We might avoid close relationships to protect ourselves. If we don't let people in, we won't get hurt. Maybe isolating ourselves, being unavailable, closed off, inflexible. And if someone does you wrong or doesn't respect your boundaries, maybe we just stop interacting with them altogether instead of actually communicating what it is we need, how we feel, what boundaries we would like to be met. If your boundaries are too flexible, it can look like oversharing personal information, saying yes when you want to say no, taking on others' problems, putting up with disrespectful, abusive behaviors. Often you can be perceived as a pushover, a peacekeeper, people pleaser, and you might be heavily influenced by other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions. This often looks like, as long as everyone else is happy, I'm happy. If, on the other hand, you have healthy boundaries, that looks like valuing your own thoughts and opinions, feeling comfortable asking for and receiving help, knowing when to share information, personal information, and with who, accepting and respecting the boundaries of others, appreciating the boundaries of others, appreciating other people's no's, because that means you can trust their yes. Keeping your word, being dependable, trustworthy, and confident, and communicating effectively, taking responsibility for your own happiness, and being capable of managing your emotions. So check in with yourself. Which one of these categories do you fall into the most? And maybe it's different with the different boundary types. So maybe you're very healthy with your material boundaries, but you might be too flexible in your emotional boundaries, for instance. So the last part of the clarity aspect of boundaries is to set a goal. And I've made an attempt. You can use this as your goal, or you can tweak it however you want. You might want to write it down. You might want to write down your tweaks, but I'll share what I wrote down. So my goal, meaning this is what I want to be true for me. This is what I want myself to be in alignment with. This is what I want to be my point of attraction. I am important and my feelings are valid. I stay connected with myself in my interactions with others. I know what my boundaries are. I communicate my boundaries clearly, confidently, and with ease. Expressing my wants and needs is the greatest gift I can give to others. So that states very clearly what I would like to be true for me when it comes to myself and boundaries. Now, let's get into the alignment part. I want to get into vibrational alignment with my goals so that I can be the person capable of living those goals. And my favorite way of getting myself into vibrational alignment with something is using a combination of energy psychology and energy healing. Specifically, I am trained in and I use 4 different modalities. The energy psychology modality is called Psych-K, psychological kinesiology. It's a very powerful and efficient belief change modality that will help me install new positive, powerful beliefs in my subconscious mind. And these new beliefs will be my new blueprint for life. And emotion code is another modality I practice. It is used to find and release trapped negative emotions in the energy body, the subconscious mind. Body code is like an extension of emotion code. It's used to find and release any trapped negative energies from your energy body. And these energies can block you from being the person you want to be, being the highest and best version of yourself. And they can also block you from achieving your goals in life. The last modality that I practice is subconscious release technique. And that is a modality where we release the negative charge of negative statements and use positive fill-ups to fill that void that was created when we released the negativity. So if you remember how I said that your point of attraction is your thoughts plus your emotions. And if you have a thought of I am not good enough, or I am not valuable, or I don't amount to anything, and that has a lot of negative feelings attached to it, the attraction power of that statement in a negative sense is quite strong. So by releasing the negative charge, the statement is rendered neutral. And that way we stop attracting that equal vibration of that. So today, what I want to do for us as a group, and this is for anyone here now seeing the live, and for anyone who's going to see this video in the future, I would like to include anyone ready, willing, and open to participate in this group energy healing. So make a decision if you want to be included. Just think yes or no, and then I will connect to the group. Victoria says, I said no to meeting with my boss today because I did not feel up to it. And that's really good. You're setting yourself up for success, right? Yes. Great, Lisa. You're in. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use muscle testing or kinesiology to connect with the group's subconscious energy, and then I will muscle test on everyone's behalf to get the answers we need. Good. And then I'll use emotion code to release any trapped negative emotions that are blocking us from achieving the goal that I read to you earlier, or the tweaked version of the goal that you made for yourself. So what I'm doing is, here is my list of emotions. I'm going to muscle test if the trapped negative emotion is on column A or column B, what row and which emotion. And then once I've named the emotion, it comes to the surface. It's like a ball of negative energy coming to the surface. Oftentimes that brings with it a memory, a person, a thought, and that is related to when the emotion was created and felt and then trapped in your body. So I'll give you a second to honor that, and then we'll release the emotion together. And that's done using your hand or a magnet, a regular fridge magnet, or if you have a crystal, you can use that. And touching between your eyebrows and then swiping 3 times towards the back of your neck with the intention of releasing the emotion. All right. Let's do this. My name is Greta. My name is the group. Good. Do we have a trapped emotion that we can release to help us achieve our boundary goal? Yes. And the first emotion to come up is unworthy. You can feel something, that's okay, that's good. If not, that's okay. If a thought comes up, acknowledge it and, that's when I felt unworthy. This makes sense. To me, this feels kind of heavy. Can we release? Yes. So let's release this trapped emotion of unworthy. 3 swipes. Was it released? Yes. Very good. Do we have another trapped emotion that we can release? Yes. Defensiveness. Defensiveness. Just acknowledge whatever comes up. Can we release? Yes. So let's release this trapped emotion of defensiveness. Good. Is it released? Yes. Do we have another trapped emotion that we can release to help us all live this goal? Yes. Conflict. Just acknowledge what comes up for you. And let's release this trapped emotion of conflict. Is it released? Yes. Do we have another one we can release for this goal? Yes. This one is inherited. It's inherited wishy-washy. And wishy-washy is a funny emotion. It means spiritless, without a backbone, not standing up for who you are and what you are. And the fact that it's inherited means that you inherited it from your mom and dad, or dad, and they might have inherited it from someone. And when we release it, we're going to release it from all past, present, and future generations. I'm going to do that now, and that takes 10 swipes. So 10 swipes to release this trapped emotion of wishy-washy from all past, present, and future generations. Good. So release from all of you, from everyone. Yes. Good. Anything else we can release for this? Yes. Another inherited confusion. Just acknowledge if anything comes up. And let's release this trapped emotion of confusion from all past, present, and future generations, and all of you here. And swipes. That released? Yes. More? Yes. Pride. Pride can be over the top sense of pride, and it can also be hurt pride. So just acknowledge whatever comes up for you. And if at any point anything comes up that you would like to share, feel free to pop it in the comments. So let's release this trapped emotion of pride. Is it released? Yes. Is there more? Yes. Depression. So let's release this trapped emotion of depression. Good. Was it released from everyone? Yes. More? Yes. Guilt. Guilt. I bet we've all felt guilty about stating our wants, needs, and boundaries. So just acknowledge what comes up. And let's release 3 swipes to release this trapped emotion of guilt. Good. Released, yeah. Social pressure for just being a doing human in the sense of go, go, go. Definitely. Definitely. Thank you for sharing. Is there more we can release to reach our goal? Yes. I'm just feeling called to repeat the goal. I am important and my feelings are valid. I stay connected with myself in my interactions with others. I know what my boundaries are. I communicate my boundaries clearly, confidently, and with ease. Expressing my wants and needs is the greatest gift I can give to others. So what else can we release for this to be true for all of us? Jealousy. So let's release this trapped emotion of jealousy. Is it released? Yes. More? Yes. Fear. Fear of rejection is a big one for me. So let's release this trapped emotion of fear. Is it released? Yes. More? Yes. Unworthy. Yeah. Just acknowledge what comes up for you when you hear unworthy. And let's release. Let's release this trapped emotion of unworthy. Was it released? Yes. Is there more? Yes. Conflict. And stating our boundaries can create conflict, especially when people aren't used to it, when we change our behaviors, that can create resistance from others. And there's also internal conflict. Part of you may not want to state the boundary, but it might be needed. So let's release this trapped emotion of conflict. Release, yes. Good. Unworthy. My needs are less important than others' needs. That's such an interesting statement, and I've felt this many times myself. But when you think about it, in my interactions with you, with anyone that I interact with, what I would really like is if the other person can take responsibility for themselves, so that I know that they are not struggling or repressing their needs when they're with me, because I wouldn't like that. So for me, it's a big gift when the people in my life express their wants and needs and boundaries. It helps me feel safe, that I'm not overstepping, that I'm not pushing, that I'm not doing something that they don't want. Even from a place of love and wanting to give, I've overstepped boundaries because the other person didn't want to say no because they love me so much. Can you imagine what we're doing in our relationships with others from love? And I wouldn't like that. I want, if you can give me the gift of telling me what you need, then I can make a decision whether it's something I have to give. But if you don't, I might give something you don't even want. And then we both lose. Unworthy. Is there a trapped emotion of unworthy? Yes. Can we release? So let's release this trapped emotion of unworthy. Good. Is it released? Yes. More? Yes. Creative insecurity. Creative insecurity is feeling insecure about creating anything, from big to small. It can be a career, a relationship, being a good parent. It can be painting a painting, writing a book, making dinner. Whatever it is that we want to create, we can have creative insecurity around. Creating a life where your boundaries are communicated and respected, for instance. Yeah, that's mine. So let's release 3 swipes to release this trapped emotion of creative insecurity. Is it released? Good. More? Yes. 3 more. Another creative insecurity. And when emotions come up more than one time, it doesn't mean that the same emotion comes back. It simply means that more than one time in your life, you experienced this emotion or something very similar to it. It wasn't processed properly, so it got trapped. Once you release it, the energy is completely released and dissolved and it won't come back. Not to say you'll never experience anything like that again that will create the emotion. But the more you release an emotion, the less reasons you attract to feel that same way again. So by releasing these emotions, we are changing your point of attraction. All right, can we release? Yes. So releasing this trapped emotion of creative insecurity. Released? Yes, good. Discouragement, which we can probably feel if we start stating our boundaries or our needs or our wants and they're not being received well. So let's release that discouragement. Released? Yes. Depression? Just acknowledge what it means to you. And let's release. It's released, yes. Dread. Dread. I sometimes feel dread in anticipation of stating a boundary, even to someone I love, that I know loves me, and who I know will want to respect my boundary. I'm going to change that to joy. So let's release this dread completely. Was it released? Yes. Good. Okay. So you are now, all of us are now, even more in alignment with having our boundary goal as a reality. Because we've now changed your point of attraction, we've up leveled your emotional point of attraction. And that using energy psychology, energy healing is one of my favorite ways of doing it because it's very concise, precise, very efficient. Whenever we release a trapped emotion, it's almost like doing surgery on your energy body. So we're taking out that negative energy, and your energy body now needs a chance to resettle and come into a new equilibrium. So I would advise you to be kind to yourself, drink water, maybe rest if you need to, and you can. You're welcome, Bonnie, my pleasure. So just take care. Now we're going to get to the action part. So what are the action steps we can take to become the person who can live this goal that we set, this boundary goal? One thing you can do is to think through your boundaries beforehand. So going through the 5 boundary categories: physical, sexual, material, mental, and emotional, and think through, what are my boundaries? What am I okay with? What am I not okay with? What are my preferences? What are my non-negotiables? What are my deal breakers? And journal, write it down, think it through, write it down when you're in your own energy, connecting in only with you. And that said, connecting in with you, reconnecting with yourself, moving your focus back to yourself, your own body and your own energy, especially if you're in a situation where you feel like your energy is entangled with the other person's, it can be hard to feel into what is you. It might be enough to recenter yourself, to focus on your breathing into your belly. You might need to actually distance yourself physically. So simply stating, if the other person is receptive to a statement like, I actually need to remove myself for a moment so that I can center in myself. And if they're not, you can say something like, I need a bathroom break. And you go and you recenter yourself in the bathroom or wherever you want to go. That can be really helpful to get back in touch with yourself and with what you need. So that's a really good idea, getting clarity. Also, never say yes or make any decisions when you're emotional. So you can say things like, I'm going to need to think this through. Or you can say things like, that's a good idea, I'll think about it and come back to you once I've thought it through. Or, I would love to help, but I need to check my calendar to see if there is any time. And one of my favorites that a couple years ago, I had taken on so many projects and it took so much time, and I was building other people's dreams all the time. And then I made my decision I made myself a promise not to start anything new, any new projects, until I had finished the ones that I'd started. And then when people came to me with invitations or suggestions, I told them, thank you for thinking about me. I really appreciate it. However, I made a promise to myself not to start anything new until I finished the things that I already started. And people respected that because Otherwise, they would ask me to break my promise to myself. And nice people don't ask other people to do that. What is a deal breaker? A deal breaker is a boundary that's so strong that if it's broken or violated, you're not going to stay in that situation anymore. So let's say you're going into a relationship with someone and you're having a discussion about boundaries and deal breakers. It's something that would cause you to end the relationship, for instance, whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship or a job. So, like in many relationships, infidelity is a deal breaker. But for some, not being tidy can be a deal breaker. Like if it's so important for me that my house is tidy that I'll be miserable if it's a mess, then I can't be with someone who is very messy. Then that would be a deal breaker for me. I love that, Jennifer. You still implement and use the language that I taught you about promise to myself. It's actually a really good thing to make promises to yourself. Ah, great, Blanca. I love it. Okay. So we're getting clear on our boundaries. We're thinking them through. We've gotten closer to vibrational alignment. And now it's time to communicate those boundaries. And there are different ways to learn and different things we can do to help. And one of my favorite things is a method of communication called nonviolent communication. It's created by Marshall Rosenberg, and you can read his book called Nonviolent Communication. And my gift that I promised you is actually a little booklet that I made outlining the process. So the first step of the nonviolent communication process is to describe the situation. So what is going on that is triggering an emotion in you? So for instance, me being a very tidy person, my observation would be wet towels on my wood floors. And the next step is the emotion. So observation, emotion. So when I saw the wet towels on my wood floors, I felt annoyed, irritated, maybe angry. Because, and the next step is the need. Because my need for a tidy home and beautiful floors, I wasn't being met. So observation, emotion, need. Wet towels, annoyed, and my need for a tidy house. And the last step is a simple request. Can I make a simple request? I would like to make a simple request that once you're done with the towels, you either hang them to dry or you put them in the laundry basket. So it's a very simple 4-step process. And in the booklet, there's a list of all the different needs and emotions so that you can look at that, thinking through situations or even in the situation to use nonviolent communication to help you communicate your need. And that takes me to the question I got earlier. What do you do when you finally make boundaries and people get mad because they benefit from you not having boundaries, such as helpless husband? Yes. What can you do? Well, be prepared that that can happen. And try out the nonviolent communication method of communication. And you can also point out what's happening. You can say, well, the reason that I'm now stating this boundary was that when I didn't do it before, this happened, observation, that made me feel taken for granted, tired, sad, whatever it is, because my need for having some time to myself or not doing everything for everyone or being seen wasn't being met. So can I make simple request that in the future, you respect my boundaries, or you contribute with your part, or whatever it is. And then the last page of the booklet is called Emergency Empathy, which is a really good method to use when if things get heated or emotional, because then the other person might not be available or receptive to what it is you have to say. So with emergency empathy, you try to understand the other person, asking, do you feel annoyed because I changed my behavior and didn't want to do this for you anymore? And then the other person can say, yes or no. No, I felt angry because da da da, right? And then you ask again, okay, am I hearing you correctly? Do you feel? And then at some point, when you word exactly what they're feeling, they will feel seen, heard, and understood. And from there on, it's possible to have a fruitful conversation. So that's nonviolent communication. There are also really good boundary scripts that you can practice beforehand. And there are some in one of my favorite books is called Boundary Boss by Terri Cole. It's a really good resource. It has a lot of boundary scripts, especially in the go deeper sections, and she has some free resources online, but I really recommend the Boundary Boss book. Also thinking through, if you did the exercise with going through the 5 boundary types, and then if you look at each and every one of them and say, okay, my boundaries when it comes to my material possessions are weak, like I let people just take my things. Then you can practice a script like I did. I remember lending someone something and they didn't return it. And then when I asked for it, they said, oh, I'm sorry, it broke. And I'm going to pay you for it, but not full price because it was old. And I was like, what? So many boundary violations at once. But that taught me that next time someone wanted to borrow something, and that time it was a dress, I said to them, yes, you can borrow the dress. If the dress breaks, I want you to pay me the full amount that I paid for the dress. I don't want it back. So this is my boundary. You can borrow the dress, and if it breaks, I want you to pay me for the full amount. I don't want you to repair it. I mean, you can repair it and keep it for yourself, but these are my conditions. And that actually resulted in, after that, my sister borrowed my dress and it got ruined and she paid me. And someone else asked to borrow my dress. And when I told her my conditions, she said, no. So that might have saved our friendship, because who knows what would have happened if I just gave her the dress and then she ruined it. And then I said, well, hey, I want all the money. And maybe that wasn't okay with her. So practicing scripts, practicing saying no, practicing saying, I'm going to think about that, instead of saying yes immediately. And actually practicing saying it out loud before the situation. Maybe make a boundary date with a friend and practice how to say no to different requests, like act it out, because then you're teaching your body to say the statements that you need. So, in summary, when it comes to boundaries through the Clarity Alignment Action Framework, clarity means connecting in with yourself, with your own energy, be clear about your boundaries, and set a goal for what you want your boundaries to be like. Alignment, the alignment work means getting rid of all the old baggage that is blocking us from living that goal that we set. It means installing new positive, powerful beliefs, which I do with Psyche. You can do it with subconscious programming, playing affirmations when you're falling asleep, things like that. And then taking aligned action. Learn about your boundaries, practice them, and communicate your boundaries. Thank you so much for taking the time to attend this live with me, for sharing your own thoughts, your own experiences. And I wish you the best of luck with getting clear on your own boundaries, with getting into alignment, and with communicating them. And if you want to have a chat about boundaries, or if you want some help with boundaries, you can go to my website, coachgreta.com. It's right here. Schedule a free strategy call so we can get to know each other. Or you can send me an email at greta@coachgreta.com. Thank you so much. Love to you all.